Hi everybody. Module 6 wraps up a couple of weeks spent on the concept of assessments in curriculum design. This past week we looked at formative assessments, whereas prior was spent looking at summative assessments. Together, these two ways of measuring learning help instructors know if they have ultimately reached their learning goals. There's a simple illustration that I like to use that helps explain each method, and that is the illustration of a ladder. If the goal is climbing the ladder, say to paint the house, then each rung on the ladder is the formative assessment, and reaching the top is the summative assessment. Each formative assessment helps you towards the final summative one. With formative assessments, they are the guideposts and ways to know whether or not to make adjustments along the way towards the goal. We've discussed several elements of what makes a good formative assessment, and you all noted the importance of making sure that the assessment is appropriate for the subject matter and that the modality or type of assessment is considered. Should the assessment be a test? And if so, what types of questions should there be? Should the assessment be a written assignment, demonstrating knowledge? What if the subject were something like the performing arts? How do you demonstrate competency, or at least working towards competency, in something like dance or theater? Another component of formative assessments is the frequency of when they occur. To use this class as an example, there is a discussion thread each week with a question relevant to the topic at hand, and you know the discussions are graded. It's the intent of the instructional design to have these discussions graded to see if there is any progress, not just on comprehending knowledge, but if there is also progress over the course of the term on writing and the ability to analyze, synthesize, and evaluate knowledge. You'll notice that a lot of the outcomes in this class have used the word analyze, assess, evaluate, and even synthesize. These words are deliberate, and formative assessments should somehow link to the outcomes. So far, we've been looking at more traditional forms of formative assessments, such as writing and demonstrating knowledge, through things like tests and quizzes, but instructional designers shouldn't be limited by these forms. Formative assessments can be as creative as they want, as long as the knowledge can be demonstrated. Then why not? What is key is knowing how to formulate the question and understand the intent behind the question. What does the instructor or designer want the student to demonstrate? I take you back to Bloom's Taxonomy. If you want a refresher, take a look at the supplemental materials in Module 2. Using Bloom's Taxonomy is one of the best tools for constructing a formative assessment. Bloom's Taxonomy's higher order skills of analysis, synthesis, and evaluation give a clue to this. Take analysis, for example. If the goal of the formative assessment is to analyze leadership theory, then what should an instructor specifically look for? First, analysis should break down the theory, in this example, into specific components or features. The analysis would then discuss particular themes, patterns, or similarities in these features. Finally, the analysis would apply these features to a particular context. These three specific elements make up what analysis means. Similarly, other words like evaluate merit the same process as analysis, but different in terms of specific elements to look for. One final note on formative assessment is that I want to mention is how one uses formative assessments in an online or distance environment. Does it make a difference with formative? And let's not forget summative assessments if the class is done in an online setting. What are things that designers need to consider if the class or program is online? Can you use the same assessment online as if you were in person? These are great questions and actually lead us to next week's topic of implementing technology. Next week, you'll also turn in your second assignment, the Program Design and Assessment paper, where you will create a program like a certificate, a degree, or something that has many elements and write up the specific program outcomes. In the end, assessments are simply tools that reveal data to inform and improve instruction. They help instructional and program designers keep to their goal of being learning-centered. That's all for this week. Finish anything else you want to discuss on the thread, and I'll see you all online.